First witness we heard from last Tuesday was Mr. Frank Four, who we heard from again this Tuesday. Significant, I believe, to his involvement in this case was the fact that we now know he was at the accident scene within 48 hours of the crash because we know he wanted to help the family. He knew who Tony was, he knew where he worked, and he wanted to get involved and help. Apparently he has taken hundreds and hundreds of photographs at that accident scene, and not one of those photographs will you find any evidence of tire marks coming from that northwest island, any evidence of tire marks coming off that island, any evidence of tire marks leading from the island to the curb of the median where we know the Mustang struck, no photograph of a close-up of the tree that is now allegedly stuck between the door and the vehicle, and no close-up of that inner right front wheel flange that he says has been outward. Mr. Croto, who did not get an opportunity to see the vehicle, believes it was bent inward. Let me just say this about that bend. It really doesn't matter whether it's bent out or in. The evidence supports that it is bent in because of the way that the wheel is turned far to the right. In either event, though, ladies and gentlemen, when that occurred, that tire was aired out because every witness that testified about that particular photograph said that tire had debeaded from the wheel. That means it is no longer in contact with the wheel. That means air has escaped. You can't turn a vehicle, you can't steer a vehicle with a flat tire. And as you'll see from the photographs taken later on, that tire is flat. So, what else did Mr. Ford tell us? He said that he couldn't find anything that would match up the way the police drew the path of the Mustang as it came off 95 to the curb. And he had to use his simulation to come up with a version of what he thinks were the facts, in that it hit the northern island, not the median curb first. I would suggest to you that if there were marks of the significance and depth that Mr. Ford came up with in his animation that he created after this crash, the police would have seen those marks the next day when they were out at the scene with their total station gathering the data that they used to create their scale diagram. And there were no such data marks on that sheet that we saw that was admitted from the police. His reconstruction, as we believe Mr. Croto showed, does not match the physical evidence that was documented by the police. Not just the night of the crash or the morning of the crash, but the following day when they went back to the scene. And I'm going to get into that just a little bit more in a second. Mr. Ford also never overlaid any of the physical evidence found by the police onto a map or a plat of the scene to make sure that his animation accurately followed that physical evidence. That's one of the types of evidence that I believe is not worthy of your oath as jurors when deciding what the true facts and the true evidence is.